And you can be a part of the conversation. Here we love it when you are a part of the conversation by sending in your messages to us via WhatsApp on 0809 981. All right. And yeah, we're also streaming live on the YouTube. I was supposed to have that at Smooth 91 FM Lagos. Okay, let's get right into it. My analyst this morning, Devoe and Lakunle. Very good morning to you, gentlemen. Good to have you on.
Lakunle, you're saying nothing.
Good morning.
Morning, Lagos.
Good morning, Devoe. Good morning, Nigeria. And Eid Mubarak to all Muslims celebrating the Eid al-Adha today.
Yes, spoken from a true Muslim. Eid Mubarak to all our Muslim brothers and sisters. It is Big Salah once again. And the rains came just to make sure it was a cool Salah morning.
It did so much of rain. All right, let's get right into the story this morning. I'm going to begin with you, and this is coming out of the Punch newspaper here. Talking about subsidy removal. Now, the World Bank has stated that Nigeria has one of the highest inflation rates, which pushed an estimated 4 million people into poverty between January and May 2023. That is just 4 or 5 months, and another 4 million people being pushed into poverty.
What a way to start a Salah morning, talking poverty. But, you know,
it is the reality.
It is not just the reality, it's the hard reality. And let's just even start on the Salah notes with the Eid Mubarak. The inflation they're referring to is the rising cost and prices across goods and services year on year in Nigeria because of our challenged economy. And at this point in time, rising inflation, for those who believe it is big English, comes down to high cost of RAM. RAM that used to go for 200,000 now goes for 800. RAM that used to go for 600,000 goes for as high as 1.6 million. Now that's RAM. Talk less of those who buy cows or camels. So this year, there was an article earlier in the week about some clerics saying to Muslim faithfuls that please do not borrow to celebrate the Eid, that for those who have, the idea is that it's a symbolic statement. It's meant to be a sacrifice for those who have to actually share with others. So I guess the opportunity for sharing has increased. Now, that being said, those are signs of the times because just like RAM price has gone up, the larger word there is food pricing, which has skyrocketed across the nation. And many people see this in terms of when you go to the market to buy your regular rice, beans, vegetables, yam. Many people cannot afford. Many people are having to review their spending patterns, especially when it comes to food. And literally, many Nigerians in Nigeria live from what they refer to as hand to mouth. Hand to mouth means you barely make enough to do any other thing beyond feeding, okay? And for people who have families, which the bulk of Nigerians have, that means all your work goes into feeding your families. And if you used to eat rice and chicken before, maybe now you're eating more of the starchy types of food, right? And the quantity of soup or meat has reduced, or you might not even afford it. Now, coming to this article, the World Bank, in their own estimation, was saying that Nigeria had about 90 million poor citizens this year, and that between January and to date, it's increased by 4 million. Now, that's the World Bank figures. Remember, we also had our own figures with the National Bureau of Statistics just before the end of the last administration, whereby they published the multidimensional poverty indicator that had about 133 million Nigerians at that level. Now, going by the United Nations figure, a poor person is someone who cannot afford a meal a day, and they put that at $1 a day. $1 a day in our current currency is about 700 naira. So what they're saying is that there are 133 million Nigerians who cannot afford to feed themselves with 700 naira a day. Now, you see, that is a hard reality. And many of us blow between 2,000 to even 10,000 a meal. And you would think that the rest of the country is like that. No, many, but the majority cannot even afford a meal a day, and that's a meal a day. Many people around the urban areas eat like 2 meals a day. Now, the truth is this, right? These are hard economic situations which the government is going to have to work on a day-to-day basis to be able to address, because we can't just say it's the last administration. It's coming from a long accumulated output of bad governance. Okay, now many steps have been taken currently, which are quite painful, because the truth is, if you must get things right, hard decisions also have to be taken. And the big question here is, in as much as the subsidy has been removed, the FX rate has been harmonized, Nigerian people who are now getting the brunt of that, because it has a direct effect on pricing. That's why you see the high inflation. How far will government go in also sacrificing? So it's not just after dealing bad on the country.
That's a big question I've been asked. What about at the top?
Yes, what about them? They can't just be asking us to carry the weight all the time. So, but the truth is, it's the biggest thing on the table right now, how this new government is going to deal with the effect of the large sum. Nigeria is the largest Black African nation in the world. There are about 200 million of us, okay? If 150 million, that's about 3/4, and then an eroding middle class is tending towards poverty, you have your homework. The truth is, we don't just want to use bad words like it's a disaster. It's tragic, but hard steps must be taken. Those steps are being taken. And like I said, I know it has a direct effect on Nigerians, and Nigerians are reeling in that pain. Nigerians also want to know, if we're going to take these sacrifices to get us out of this rot, what are you doing, one, to reduce this burden? What incentives are you bringing on board? And how are you also bearing this same sacrifice so that we can all get out of it together? The last thing I'll say is this: people always resist what they don't understand. So we will take time as much as possible to explain this process. It's like a pregnant woman. There's no whether, whichever way you slice it, she's going to go through pain, but at the end of the day, she's going to have a beautiful baby. And that's, hopefully, if Nigerians do this alongside with governments, we will get out of this in no time and get to a place where we can all start living better lives.
I like that, and well said. So, all right, thank you for that. Devoe. This is Freshly Pressed Smooth 98.1. Once again, you can be part of the conversation by sending your messages and reactions on WhatsApp on 0809 4440981. All right, Lakunle, let me come over to you here, and let's take this from the punch, where the Lagos State government has said that it will begin the implementation of the federal government's directive on annual vehicle proof of ownership fee in July. Luckily, I was having a discussion with Reuters earlier this morning, and we talked about, we're already paying for vehicle license, we're already paying for roadworthiness. I mean, we have all our data. What exactly is this about to hear?
So when I heard the story yesterday evening, it was a breaking news yesterday. The first thing I did was I quickly ran to go check my proof of ownership certificates. And believe you me, the story says that according to the Lagos State official who says that they will start implementing in July, Mr. Abdulafiz Toriola, he says that it's an annual proof of ownership certificate is in compliance with legal requirements fundamental to transparency, security, and accountability within the transportation network. I've been trying to think through in my head whatever that statement means. I for the life of me, I can't put a meaning to that statement from a government official trying to explain the problem we are trying to solve. You know, the reasons we have government basically is that, okay, there will be problems. People in government will identify the problem and they will solve it. And in solving that problem, they must first identify what the problem exactly is. So I buy a car today. I am going to use the car I bought a car 10 years ago. So it means that going forward, from every year that I use that car, I need to be proving that I own the car. He also went further to say that the details on the certificates will be the registration details, license number plates, year of manufacture, owner's name and address. All these already are on the current proof of ownership that I have for the car that I have. So what is new about it? What problem exactly are we trying to solve with making it annual? Here we are. We have just, okay, we are beating the silver bullet. Thankfully, very difficult decision. We've taken off the subsidy. We are talking about taking off the subsidy on power also, which will probably increase power rates by 40%. Now, we're bringing this one in again, another 1,000 from July. And people are asking, okay, so it's good that you want to increase your revenue generation, whatever, however you want to do it. But what are you doing on the other side to make people not mind paying these monies? Are our roads good enough for the cars you're asking me to pay this 1,000 annual enough to drive over? Do I have this guarantees that the car itself is safe from being pilfered, from being stolen, from being hijacked from me while I'm driving on the road? Meanwhile, there are other laws in this country that have been made that are national, that every state government in this country is reluctant to domesticate. There is a freedom to educate, freedom of education rights bill for the child of the child. There is a freedom of information bill, and so on and so forth that we can mention. Why, for the life of me, is it that is the one that has got to do with taking money from the citizens that has not even landed, and within 24 hours, you're already giving a date when you are going to start? Now, okay, so if you are going to start in July, why are you not explaining how it's going to work? So me that I have a proof of ownership, does it then mean that if you say you are starting to enforce in July, it means all of us must in July pay that 1,000 naira? Is that what it means? Or when are we going to start paying? Are we going to tie it to licensing and the registration of the licensing of the car, or what exactly? So that the kind of things that is so much disjointed that these people, when they just hear money, they just run to the street and start harassing people about it. There's a backstory that I've seen on social media yesterday, for example. Even in the private sector, the owners of a certain electric distribution country in Nigeria, because it says that July 1st, the electricity rate is going to increase, they are using style to prevent people from buying today, since 2 days ago. Like, for example, say you can't buy more than once a week. You know, that kind of thing. So the ways that we try to cheat people of things, we have to use laws to bamboozle ourselves. We have to use laws to stifle ourselves. We need people to challenge this thing. If I have my way, it would be nice to challenge this law to see what we are trying to, what problem we are trying to solve with this thing, making this proof of ownership annual. It also means that it implies that very soon, if I have a house, I'll be asked to do my CFO annual. I will have, what's it called? I will, whatever it is, so the government can wake up anytime and make any law that will attract me paying money on it for something that is irrelevant. I don't think that this is the kind of law we should be speaking to at this time in our life. We should be talking about solving the bigger elephant in the room already, the removal of subsidy. What are we doing? That's the most important thing right now. What are we doing to alleviate the hardship, the immediate hardship of this? That's the first thing we should be looking at, not this one.
All right, let me take a message from WhatsApp really quickly here. Lakunle says, why does this government like negative news? All they have to do is increase auto rent or vehicle registration license or any such annual vehicular payments by 1,000 naira and collect this levy in back end. How difficult can that be instead of all this negative news over 1,000? Not 100,000. All right, and Daniel from Kekere says, are we seeing any real actions towards cutting down the cost of government, or are our leaders simply going to suckers dry to service their current lifestyle? That is a very good question, a very big elephant in the room. And of course, we'll continue the discussions on Lagos talks shortly. Let's take a quick breather, and we'll see you on the other side.
Okay, so story three. Okay.
Ayo, I'm barely hearing you. Your voice is so faint.
Then it must be the.
I can hear you very clearly, Devoe.
There must be the mic feeder.
I think that's why they have to rate this up.
Okay.
Yeah.
This my
Let me put it this one. Let's see.
yeah. Ajia, we're coming for a ram now. No muffin this morning. You, Alagba, how far now? This guy's a Muslim. Oh.
I know they kill Ram now. I don't get money.
Excuse me, are you Shiites? Yeah.
No, I'm not. I know. You see, I don't get money now.
If Miriam is complaining, you too complain.
Yes, so.
All right, let's go back. All right, welcome back. This is Lagos Talk. Sorry, I beg your pardon. This is Freshly Pressed. I'm jumping way ahead of time. This is Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1 Your Love Music, Love Live Station. My analysts were still with me this morning are Lakunle and Devoe, and you can be a part of the conversation, sending your reactions and messages to us via WhatsApp on 0809 4440981. All right, Devoe, let's check out the story coming out of the Vanguard, where a former Kaduna Central Senator Shehu Sani said Nigerians expect the new National Security Advisor, the NSA, Nuhu Ribadu, to employ a different approach to achieve a better result in the fight against insecurity in the country.
Yes, at the top of the list of issues to be addressed with this new administration. Shehu Sani, as we know, was a former senator in Kaduna State, and his opinions are usually followed by many. He did say that the new security advisor, NSA, that's Nuhu Ribadu, who we all know as the Super Cop in those days, turned presidential candidates, should employ a different approach, okay, to achieve a better result in the fight against insecurity. Now, he said that he should end criminality of terrorism. You see,
Isn't that stating the obvious?
I mean, that's not even just stating the obvious. That is a headline. So the criminality of terrorism. He didn't just say end terrorism. The criminal, because whether we like it or not, okay, we've gone through almost 15 years of what should have been referred to the fight against terrorism. What we went through was terrorism becoming an industry in this country. And whether people like it or not, whether we blame it on movement of arms from Libya or all the abdicated narratives that we put, terrorism took its full hold in this country. And many of the people, both private sector and public sector, were neck deep into shelving Nigerians of their safety. That is the hard fact about it. So I appreciate his statement in saying, ending the criminality of terrorism. The same way we're terrorized economically from subsidy, the same way we're terrorized economically from crude oil theft. None of that had to do with foreigners. None of that had to do with people coming in from outside. We were doing this to ourselves, and we should call it out. So he went on to say banditry, killings, kidnappings across the country, and that he should look for ways to protect schools and farmers from terrorists. I'm glad he didn't use the word herdsman, because for a long time, the herdsmen's attacks were being rationalized or being tempered down by the use of the word killer herdsmen, etc. We refused to name them for what they were, terrorists.
That's the power of language.
Yes, you were violating people's rights, their constitutional rights. And at that time, the government, either at the federal or the state, could not help them. How many times were we in the studio here talking about the various kidnappings and how, at the end of the day, the police couldn't do anything? The military that was meant to be taking care of external aggression was split in 34 states out of 36. And at one point, the chief of armed staff, Burutai, had to tell people, look, don't blame us. We're helping out. It's not our job. And that was a hard fact, whether people liked it or not. However, you see, Shehu Sani is asking Nuhu Ribadu to review, and when we talk about security architecture, it has nothing to do with just crime fighting. Security architecture is the whole gamut of issues surrounding the peace and stability of any nation. So in a way, it's good that this, people say, oh, Nuhu Ribadu, that this is the first time a policeman or a non-military personnel is taking over that situation. Maybe it's about time we begin to see that level of competence come on board, because national security is not just about crime fighting. you're looking at the full gamut of issues. Now, whilst one aspect deals with crime fighting, okay, like the ones he has listed, the other aspect, which is the greater aspect, deals with the threats to your peace and stability, your development. For example, you talk about, we just spoke about the high level of poverty and how with the rising inflation, more Nigerians are going to become poor. Poverty drives insecurity. When you have 3/4 of your population in poverty, it means the remaining 1/4 or remaining 10% are not safe. So this is not a time to be proud to be say, I am among the 1% of the 1%. You are in trouble because surrounding you are people who can't eat, who are hungry. And at the end of the day, you know how it goes in the religious world. If you do anything in the name of hunger, it will be forgiven because you are hungry. People who are hungry can't reason properly. People who are hungry do not understand logic. And that is why politicians, we hate them for that in using stomach infrastructure. That's reducing us to our lowest, whereby instead of applying our senses and making decisions that are right, we take decisions from the hungry state of our bellies. Are you guessing what I'm saying? Now, that is one aspect that Nuru Ribadu must deal with, because what it means is, what are all the issues that are making Nigerians hungry? What are the issues that are keeping Nigerians unemployed? Because Nigerians cannot afford their meals again. That's why we said Tinubu should call a national state of emergency on the economy, working with the National Economic Council and the National Security Office. Why? Because anything that drives unemployment is driving Nigeria down a deeper hole. 2, social amenities, education. It's not even about JAPA. JAPA is just the outcome when you have not held your education policies right. You have almost, the last figure was about 20 million children out of school, wandering. That's a whole
lot
nation.
of children.
That's a lot of children. You have many students not even taking advantage of the primary education that is available. That's the UBS, the Universal Basic Education System. Healthcare, you have many Nigerians that cannot take care of themselves. We don't even keep all these statistics. Transportation, why can't food be moved from north, south, east to west without wahala? I remember when I went to some of the food manufacturers that I used to deal with, many of them said, oh, we don't do that anymore because what you used to bring in 3 days in those days, meaning you move a product from Warri to Lagos, now it takes 20 to 2 months. By that time, the food has either died, perished, or fermented. We can't use it again. Why? Because many of the farmers complain that all the challenges that they face on the road, from bad road to the kidnapping to the armed forces that were disturbing them, etc., it just doesn't work. All these are issues revolving around national security. If people cannot get what they need when they need it, okay, at the end of the day, we all will suffer. And when we all suffer, we begin to think of wrong ways of having to acquire some level of sanity. So it's not a small charge to the new National Security Advisor. The last thing I would say is this: in the last administration, for about 8 years, we saw the focus of budgets on the security forces. On a monthly basis, they were doing like 400 billion. Okay, whilst education, social amenities, road transport were doing like a fraction of that, which is almost like what do you call it? They were doing like 100 to even less than that. And not just security forces, the bulk of that went to the military. Whereas the bulk should have gone to the police, who have the constitutional requirement to actually keep Nigeria safe. So he is not only going to be looking at the non-security issues, there's going to have to be a balancing of the little money that we have to ensure that we shore up our capacity. The conversations on state policing come to bear. The conversations of increasing the numbers of security forces that we have nationwide. 2, there's going to be an issue of, remember he mentioned the criminality of terrorism, political impunity. Enough of saying that, oh, until politicians go abroad, you know, this way we have of, stop that politician from getting a visa. We'd actually rely on other countries to kind of send a signal or to kind of create consequences for the bad, rascal, illegal, impugned behavior of our own politicians. No, it's about time that we begin to see consequences. You cannot continue. No one in this country is above the law. So beyond that, strengthening our judiciary has become a matter of national security. It's a lot of work.
for one man, but he has a full paraphernalia behind him, okay? And hopefully with the president who has been marginally, he's referred to as Baba Go Fast. Yes, let us see the fastness on this side as well. Because for those people who put Nigeria in this situation, they cannot, there's no way. You know, sometimes we talk about this poverty, Nigeria broke, or we don't have money. The truth is, without borrowing, if this government is able to trace all the money that has been stolen from this nation, from the crude side, from the subsidy side, from the ministries, departments, and agencies, from all this rascal behavior that has become culture in this country, Nigeria will lift off in a way that people could not even imagine.
True that. We can have this conversation for days and days on end, but hey, that is just the reality that we're facing right now. Lakunle, let's quickly move on to the Punch newspaper, where the federal government has sought support of the European Union in its quest to deepen and consolidate its democratic practices, particularly as it concerns its electoral processes. What is this? Should I say this reliance or this validation that we seek from outside the country, as opposed to trying to fix our own problems ourselves in-house?
Right. Okay. So, yeah, I agree with you, but a little bit with a bit of addition. One is that no nation can exist on its own. You need to compare yourself with someone to measure your growth. Yes. So up to that extent, yes, we need other people. Now, this is not the first time the European Union Electoral Committee, Monitoring Committee had monitored elections in Nigeria. This is not the first time they've been writing reports. At least they've been writing reports since 1999, and they've been coming to submit the same different reports since 1999. Have we ever looked at those reports? Have we ever implemented anything in those reports? Why are we thinking that their own ideas is better than ours? Two things I would also like to put in there. Rigging, corruption are English words. They would not exist if those things don't happen in their own environments as well. So it does not mean that the elections they have is 100% full. The only thing that is that we just need to look inwards, and the things that we need to do, the ultimate responsibility to sustain, to grow, deepen, whichever adjective we want to use to make our democracy better, lies with us. The responsibility lies with all of us, you, me, Mr. President, the National Assembly, everybody. The National Assembly make the laws. We do the right things by going to vote. We do the right things by not being involved in electoral violence, not allowing our children, our wards to be used for electoral violence. People in governance to make, in the National Assembly to make the right laws, to make things work. People in executive to be transparent, to be accountable in everything that they do. Those are the things that will make our democracy to grow, not some reporting by somebody else who is actually looking after his own interests in all of this. That's what I think.
All right. Let me take a couple of messages from WhatsApp really quickly. This is from Ibuku. Ibuku says, good morning, crew. Well spoken. Luckily, the information on the proof of ownership is the same as your vehicle license, ECMR, license plate number, tinted permit, VIO, insurance, and any other documents to do with your car. The citizens are asked to tighten their belts, yet that Speaker of the House has appointed 32 aides. That's Ibuku. JJ said, this 1K for vehicle ownership doesn't make sense to me. Why not just add it to the existing vehicular bills? This government should continue. Austin says, good morning, Devoe. I wish New Ribadu would appoint you as one of his advisors to help him do his work. I so much enjoy listening to you on Freshly Pressed. That's from Austin. Dakbo Lawal says, Devoe, serious pent-up anger this morning. Good morning. Will I call it serious pent-up anger or just, the passion?
It's the hard reality.
If I can put it
I feel from that people. Way. This hunger is getting out of control.
All right. And that is all the time we have on Freshly Pressed this morning. Thank you all for the messages. And of course, thank you, Devoe and Lakunle, for joining me this morning to take a look at the headlines and the stories making the rounds. I hope you guys have a wonderful Eid celebration today.
Right. Have a good one, everyone.
All right, Lakunle, have a great day.
Yeah, bye.
Right, smooth night.
Smooth night.
You took all the time.
Don't worry, you guys can sort out your RAM issues afterwards. So much more to look forward to on the Smooth Breakfast at 8:15. We'll get into the locker room at 9 o'clock. Lagos Talks. We'll get talking. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere.
Lakunle, Our Ram.
You took all the time. You took all the time. You
Still,
spoke 15 minutes on one story.
we're still streaming.
No problem. He has to be held
Ayo,
to account.
Ayo should
Our
have
Ram,
cut you
my
off.
friend.
Ayo, next time, cut him off. He took 15 minutes on one story.
That story was necessary, Joe. Our people
Yeah.
are home. That's the one they want to hear government do something. The one that how many people share for?
I'll send you my account. I'll send you my account number now. So you send me.
Before they used to share maybe like half a truck, a small truck would come and share around at Tinubu's house. This time, two 18-foot trailers. 18 yeah, so
What?
people carried, they slaughtered it from morning. So people were carrying hefty bags, but it still can't go around enough.
Of course, yes.
They had to put
Of course, yes. It can
like,
never be enough. In
like
fact,
if
they give them one, you see some people come back to want to come and take a second one.
Oh, they cleared everybody last night. I had to wait now till like 10 before I could go home. So it was massive, so that there wouldn't be wahala today.
I saw his convoy on the Third Mainland Bridge yesterday when he arrived. Or more.
I don't understand why he did that convoy. He could have.
That's what we're going to witness for at least the next 4 years. So every time he's coming to Lagos.
I think they wanted people to see that he was around, not that he was trying to do guide, because his house is opposite the helipad. He could have just flown into the helipad.
Which helipad again?
His house is. The one at what's his name? Majukudomi, Calverton.
He doesn't live in Bodilon again. No, that house that he arrived at is not Bodilon. No, this house is in Queen's Drive.
Guys,
it moves to Queen's Drive.
Guys, you know we're still streaming live, right? So
no problem.
Yeah.
No, Queen's Drive now.
Lakunle, we gotta go.